And we could do everything that we want and rewrite the Constitution and ratify it with the states, and we can redo it, get rid of the Federal Reserve Bank. We could have a chance to be real specific and set it right, at least back to 1812.
Right.
Go back to the gold standard. There's what else are we doing that we'd have to stop doing? God, everything. We would have to redo everything. The way we do everything. No more FDA. No more UN agreements.
Is it FAA?
We're breaking things left and right as it is. Our President Bush has to go back and get immunity for all the stuff that he's done already, all the spying on the people and the torture that goes on in the secret prisons.
Now let's say let's compare this era to that era, for example, in society. What kind of tactics are still used that were used back then or possibly used? Disinformation is probably the biggest tactic. I mean, they would spread lie upon lie, his word against his word. You know what I mean? They would try to debunk that anything is absolute and exists. So even in that time of the War of 1812, it was another revolutionary war. There had to have been some British loyalists that were trying to install disinformation to sort of, stop the Americans. To sort of confuse them, because confusion is a big part of war.
Yeah, well, here's what my theory.
And conquering an opponent
kind of fits in with yours there. My theory is that when the United States was formed, one of the main things that it did was it removed the power of the church over the people. The church became, and still is, the most powerful institution on earth, but it doesn't have the same kind of influence that it did over governmental laws and rulers and things. And the United States was founded to protect us from that type of influence, from the elite, powerful, information controlling and money controlling
secret societies.
Yeah, and it was the Holy Roman Empire at the time. And that kind of what the United States and the Constitution did by removing the church from the state was to shift that power to the next level on the rung. No longer was it kings. No longer was it the church. Now it was
free people.
No, it was whoever had the most money. So the merchants who were getting, who were during the previous centuries, who were getting so wealthy, during the Renaissance time, and spread, the ship technology was getting better, and they're spreading around, getting larger and larger. Spain was on the west coast when the colonists were on the east coast, so the trade routes were spread and widened, and the power of these merchants became the most powerful people in the world. If you had resources and a business of trade routes and you traded in goods and things, you had your big business, and you also did the lending and borrowing of money, then you had massive amounts of money, and you had the most power at that point. Because the amount of money you could get as a representative in the government is limited, as we all know. Even though they keep hiking their salaries up more and more, even though we can't afford it. They do that even though they spend more money to get elected than they get paid to be elected. It all begs you to wonder why.
That's unless they're taking pay cuts under the table.
Right, or if they're getting paid off by people who have more money. That's why the people who have the most money have the most power. The golden rule. He who has the gold rules. And that's why when America was founded, it was immediately the infiltration process had to begin with, it had to change, it had to shift. And so they couldn't just impose a king, because the Constitution didn't allow that. They couldn't impose, a religious creed, because the Constitution didn't allow that. The Pope couldn't be seen as the the ruler of all the land, even though he sees himself that way.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be done a different way. And so that must have been the beginning of the slow process of infiltrating this rich land.
Well, it was actually started with Hamilton. I mean, Alexander Hamilton versus Thomas Jefferson. Unfortunately, Hamilton persuaded George Washington to sign into law the first national bank.
A national bank, and that's where it went to, was a national bank. And that's what we have to get back before, right? Back to the future. We got to get back to before the Federal Reserve Bank. Hey, Matzilla, I want to thank you for coming on the show and informing me and our listeners. I'm gonna
hunting for this 13th Amendment is like, it reminds me of the Goonies.
Absolutely, dude. Totally. In fact, and just for you, I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna play my Goonies bit right here for you on the sound out. What I'm gonna do is, if you're welcome to stick around and listen to the show. I'm going to stay up a little while longer and check in with the rebroadcast of Coast to Coast. But I'm going to end this portion of the podcast, and I thank you for joining me here on Tangent Talk on Revolution Broadcasting. Thanks again to Matzilla and all the listeners out there, everybody that was in the chat room, and me, myself, and I for engineering and broadcasting and producing and broadcasting and directing and administrating podcast. It's not a podcast. Anyways, this is for Matzilla. This is the Goonies. You might recognize it.
Hey kid, I want you to spill your guts. Tell us everything. Everything.
Everything. Okay, I'll talk. In 3rd grade, I cheated on my history exam. In 4th grade, I stole my Uncle Max's toupee and I glued it on my face when I played Moses in my Hebrew school play. In 5th grade, I knocked my sister Edie down the stairs and I blamed it on the time my mom sent me to a summer camp for fat kids. And then once during lunch, I got nuts and I pigged out and they kicked me out. But the worst thing I ever done, I mixed up all this fake puke at home, and then I went to this movie theater, hid the puke in my jacket, climbed up to the balcony, and then I made a noise like this. And then I dumped it over the side. And all the people in the audience, then this was horrible. All the people started getting sick and throwing up all over each other. I never felt so bad in my entire life.
I'm beginning to like this kid, Mom.
Hit puree!
No! I'm too young! No! I want to play the ball!